power of your subconscious mind to have more success, more health, wealth, happiness, and abundance in your life. And I just want to welcome my very, very special guest today. Yael Kagan is here. She is a hypnotherapist. She specializes in EFT, emotional freedom technique, and neuro-linguistic programming. And she has amazing stories to tell and some wonderful tips to help you overcome your stress. Hi, Yael. How are you doing today?
Hi, Michelle. So happy to be here.
So happy to have you. And of course, we're not in the studio today because we're doing some social distancing with everything that's taking place, but we are having a great time. We're at our offices, and I hope everybody that is tuning in right now is able to enjoy the show. And Yael, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about not only yourself and your background, but also your private practice. And I'm noticing that there's just so much fear in society. I know what's happening. I know that we have the health scare that's taking place. And this is not just here in Los Angeles. We're filming with LA Talk Radio, but this is going all around the world. So tell me a little bit about, number one, what fear is. Can you really break it down for me? And what's the difference between fear and anxiety? And how is it affecting your family, your friends, and maybe your clients in your private practice?
So, first of all, fear is a thought, and we all have fears. We have fear of falling, we have fear of failure, we have fear of losing money, we have fear of relationships. So, we all have fears. Anxiety is the response, and that is the difference. And when we talk fears, there's also the conscious level about it and the subconscious level. So consciously, you know that through your thoughts, you know that you have a fear of something. But why is it, for instance, when we walk in a dark street and we are all alone, why are we afraid that something will happen? Is it something that we are born with, or is it something that we learn later in life? So consciously, yes, we know that we walk in a dark street, we are all alone, but subconsciously in our beliefs, and the subconscious is much stronger than the conscious, it's 90%, we may have a belief that something may happen. And that's what is causing the anxiety. That's what is causing the response. And that is basically the big difference between the two of them.
So I know that when we talk about fear, that for me, sometimes I use the acronym FEAR, FEAR, false evidence appearing real. And we have so much fear that's taking place, and it affects our mind, body, and our emotions, our spirit right now. But the false evidence, sometimes I think that may be coming sometimes from the information from the outside world or some of our beliefs that we have. So we have fears that are taking place, and this triggers the anxiety. And then I also have clients who come in, and I have some people in my life right now that are dealing with this, that they have what they call phobias. Can you explain to me what a phobia is? Break that down for me.
So phobia is an illogical fear, meaning we don't know what is causing it. We don't know where it's coming from. And that is the big difference, basically, between the fear and the phobia.
Okay, so we have fears, we have anxiety, and we have phobias. And those of you that are just tuning in, we're talking with Yael Kagan, and she's an expert in dealing with overcoming fears. And she's a hypnotherapist and neurolinguistic practitioner, and she also specializes in EFT. And I want you to ask yourself, as an audience right now, what are some of the top fears that you have in your life? What is happening with you? What is going on with everybody that is around you? And are you listening to the truth? Are you listening to the different messages? Are you seeing some of the changes that are taking place on an outside level, on a visual level, or are you just watching it through the TV? And when we let fear just get to such a high extreme, then it creates so much anxiety. But fear is completely different than phobias. Phobia, now I'll give you an example that I have clients that have phobias called agoraphobia. And that is when the phobia gets so great that they actually cannot even leave their house. And as a hypnotherapist, that is one of the things that we can help people with is with the phobias, because we can help desensitize that. And I also had another client that had just an extreme fear of water. And I know some of you are aware that I do past life regression as well. So, Yael, can you tell me about some of the clients maybe that have been coming into your office? Are the fears the same as before, or are they just a little bit different because of the changes in society?
So first of all, what I'm seeing right now, and it's not just in my office, I mean, you
Yeah.
see it at home. I see it with my kids. I see it with my parents. I see it everywhere. Everybody is fearing. Everybody is watching a lot of TV. There's a lot of information coming in, and it's overload a little bit. And what happens? It's almost like we are all in some type of hypnosis, and we are all
Mhm.
basically tuned into the news, into what's going on, into the unknown. So there's a lot of fear. I get a lot of clients that are calling now saying, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with the world? What is going to happen? When will it end?
Yes, and we're talking, of course, about the virus that's going on, and that so many people are in this state of anxiety because they don't know. It's the unknown. Like you said, it's the fear of the unknown. It's the what if. What if this happens? What if that happens? What am I going to do? So people are starting to go into a little bit of panic. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely.
And, for us just doing the show, we are having, of course, what we call that social distancing. But, even being able to handle this fear, I know that they were talking about just isolating. And yeah, tell me what happens when people really start isolating, and maybe that isolation is not being able to see their family and friends. So how can that affect them when they have to isolate and maybe stay in their home and they can't go anywhere?
First of all, they don't have their regular routine. So people are trying to find what to do with their time. So just that is something, if before you had a routine, you had some type of routine, whether it was your life, your work, the kids had a routine. And suddenly you need to wake up in the morning to almost nothing. And you need to kind of like invent yourself from the beginning. What do I do today? How do I let the day go? I need to call my parents because usually I want to support my parents, but you have to stay away from your parents.
Mhm.
So people don't know how to react to that. People that are used to exercise, and that's great venting for them. They can't do it anymore. They have to do it at home. So all this isolation is something new, is something that we need to learn basically how to handle our life from the beginning, something we didn't have to do before.
And that's such a key point. So it's an unknown to us. And we've talked about, fear and how it affects us, and what's going on a daily basis with all of these changes. And on a conscious level, we have that 10 to 12% of our mind that's analyzing and trying to figure things out. But our subconscious beliefs, they are running the show right now. And if you have a belief inside of your mind that says, I can't do this, or I can't do that, or I need to listen to the authorities, or I need to listen to people who are in charge, and not think for myself, then that can be a little dangerous. So I know, just for me and probably a lot of people out there, there's a difference between listening to those that are telling us here's what's happening, and then trusting our intuition and really taking a look at our gut instincts and relying on what we've done in the past. So it's a confusing time for us right now. And I'm really just trying to stay calm and be cool and be really focused. I'm posting a lot of, funny, uplifting videos, but I know that this is a very serious time. So, Yael, what about with you? Are you able to, use your intuition and your guidance with this fear?
I mean, definitely yes. And I'm trying to do something a little bit different. I'm trying to do something more positive about it. I'm trying to take it to a positive thing. I'm trying to do more positive things to help people around me. I see something beautiful now that the community is doing. Everybody is sharing things online. Everybody is helping that way to others that don't know how to act in such a weird time. So it's something that I'm saying about myself, and I'm saying about a lot of other people in the community.
Yes. And those of you that are just joining us, welcome. My name is Michele. I'm the mind coach, and we're talking about fears and the anxiety and stress that we have right now in society. And some of the tips and techniques that we're going to be able to utilize will be coming up later on in the show. But it starts to affect us really, really strongly when we have the unknown, when we have such a great change that happens so fast and we're not quite set up for it and we're not prepared for it. And Yael, I think that's what's been happening is we really were caught off guard. We haven't been prepared for situations that are taking place. And, as a hypnotherapist, I just love the power of the subconscious mind. And like I said in the beginning of the show, I help people harness that power and tap into the subconscious mind. And becoming a hypnotherapist has been just a really amazing journey for me. I've been doing it for about 30 years. So give me a little bit of your background. How did you decide to become a therapist? And have you always wanted to help people?
So it's a funny story because I come from the travel industry. I was a travel agent for over 20 years. I always had passion to therapy and helping others, and I always found myself, everybody always came to me for advice, for help, and I've dealt with all kind of situations. And about 12 years ago, I got divorced, and I actually went to a numerologist, sorry, in Israel, who said to me, "You will do very well, but you will do much better being a therapist. You need to be a therapist." And I was like,
Wow.
where do I go with that? And he said, I can't tell you, you'll have to find it. And whatever happened, and I found myself at HMI studying hypnotherapy.
And HMI, for those of you that don't know, is the Hypnosis Motivation Institute. It's our College of Hypnotherapy here in Los Angeles. And I was one of the senior instructors there and director of admissions. And I remember, Yael, when you came in, and it was, such a life change for you. I was so excited to have you in the class and to be able to see you blossom and grow. And now to be able to call you a colleague of mine. But what is so really, really fun is that we are now working together and collaborating on taking all of the information that we have learned and all of our background and experience in behavior modification, in hypnotherapy, in spirituality, and take it out on the road. So can you tell our audience what we have planned coming up, probably towards the end of the year or maybe the beginning of next year?
So this was a dream, basically taking those two different industries, all the knowledge, and putting them together. And it was very natural to me to contact you so that I can do it with you, because you were my inspiration since day one in HMI.
Thank
And
you.
we put together a tour to the Holy Land, visiting all the important sites, but from a completely different point of view, not from a touristic point, but from a holistic healing. And basically, we are going all around the country, but we are doing daily meditations. We have meditation at the Dead Sea. We have meditations on the Sea of Galilee. We have Kabbalah workshops, like a day of workshops at the Kabbalah Center in Tzfat. We're visiting Jerusalem with all kind of very, very special sites with very special programming that I did especially for this tour. It's a once in a lifetime. I don't think anyone ever done something like that.
Mm-mm.
And I have to say that both of us were sitting and writing the itinerary step by step together. So it's really very, very unique.
So holistic healing in the Holy Land. That is our spirituality tour that's going to be coming up very soon. So stay posted, of course. We will share a little bit more with you on that. And make sure that you tune in not only to LA Talk Radio and to our show here, but also we'll give you our information at the end of the show, how you can contact us with our website and direct information with that. So yeah, let's talk a little bit more about hypnosis and hypnotherapy. And what's the difference? I know people always ask me, what's the difference between being a hypnotherapist and maybe being a stage hypnotist? Because even though hypnosis is still the same, the background and the careers are just a little bit different.
Absolutely. And it's funny because before I got into this, all I knew was about stage hypnosis. That's all I could see. That's all I knew about it. But then when I came to HMI, I basically understood how to use that powerful tool of hypnosis, which works with your subconscious mind, which is much deeper, which is much stronger. The subconscious mind is 90% of the power of the brain. And working with it in order to make positive changes is a lot stronger. Working with subconscious and conscious together, you can reach a much, much better solutions. And it's very, very different than what you see on stage. It's nothing, it's like I find, sometimes I don't even want to get into it because it's two completely different words.
Two completely different words. Yeah, so stage hypnosis is basically entertainment. It's very, very real. I remember when I started at the Hypnosis Institute, we all got invited to go to a stage hypnosis show. And even though I was learning hypnosis, I wanted to get on stage to kind of really prove that it was real, almost wanted to see if it was factual and that this was really happening. So I was one of the subjects on stage, and I was absolutely blown away because even though I knew the techniques that the hypnotist was using, I was still going into such a deep state, what we call a somnambulist state, that I was laughing and screaming and crying. They were saying, oh, there's a scary movie up there. I didn't see anything, but my emotions and my response was acting as if it was there. And then, of course, your chair is hot or, you're cold. And then what was so funny is that the stage hypnotist came around and he had a clipboard with all of these different famous artists and their songs, and you had to pick a song. And I picked Sinead O'Connor, and that was the song back then. Remember the video when she's crying and she had no hair, and I think the song was Nothing Compares to You. And I knew all of the words to that song. And so what happened is the stage hypnotist sent us back to the audience to sit down. I thought I was out of hypnosis. And then all of a sudden snapped his fingers, put me back into a state, and I came back up on stage and I sang that entire song as if I was Sinead O'Connor, but I knew exactly what was going on. So stage hypnosis, even though it's entertainment, we need to be aware of something called environmental hypnosis, because that is what's happening with us right now, and it's triggering our fears, our stress, and our anxiety. So if you're just joining us, Yael and I are talking about overcoming your stress and your fear with the power of hypnosis, neuro-linguistic programming, and also we'll teach you some EFT tapping. So Yael, when we have a heightened state of suggestibility, that environmental hypnosis really can play a toll on us. Let's talk a little bit about some of the symptoms. What happens physically with our body, what happens mentally in our mind, and what happens with our emotions.
So many people that come and complain about it will show me or tell me that they have problems to sleep. They're very tired because of that. Sometimes they have headaches. Sometimes they have pain in their body. It could be in their back. It could be in their shoulder. Some people have digestion problems. Some people have either diarrhea or constipation. So they're very different, but some people are really affected by it. They almost, I would say, get into depression, which is in the more severe case.
Yes, and depression is actually anxiety and anger. It's turned inward. So those of you that are watching in our audience right now, if you're having heightened levels of stress and anxiety, make sure that you reach out to either one of us or somebody that can assist you with that, because it can very easily trigger into a downward spiral and possibly take you into depression. Yael, talk to me a little bit about when we have the stress and the anxiety that goes into the physical body. I know we call them body syndromes in our private practice, but can you explain the different levels? What are the 5 different body syndromes that we have?
I mean, it depends probably here, everybody, body syndromes affects everybody very differently. It's mostly chronic pain.
Mm-hmm.
Some people will go to a doctor and try to find why is one thing hurting than others. And again, it will affect a lot of different places in the body, such as, like we said, head, which is whether
Mm-hmm.
headache or problem sleeping, the stomach, the breathing, so the heart pumping. So there are like different levels, and different people will feel them in different ways. All the muscle aches that some people are feeling, and they may go to a doctor, try to find what's the problem, and the doctor at the end will say, I suggest you try something alternative. And that's when they will come to us.
And sometimes the doctor may even say, it's all in your head. If there's nothing really affecting on the outside. I know we have situations going on in society right now, but quite often our clients come in and they have these body syndromes, and maybe they have rashes on their skin, or they're breaking out, or they're having difficulty with their eyes or their ears, or just pain in the body, and they say, it's all in your head. So stress and anxiety can start mentally. It starts to affect us mentally. I know for me, when I get really, really stressed out, my hair starts falling out. And it starts kind of coming out in clumps. I've actually had some women friends of mine who have lost their hair. And it's just now, starting to kind of grow back after they've done a few things. So stress can be a little dangerous if it's not taken care of. Let's talk about emotionally. Now, what happens emotionally to us when we are dealing with so much fear and anxiety in our life? How does it affect our emotions?
I mean, people are basically worried. People are really worried about everything. They're afraid, they're worried. And it brings them down, almost like losing the energy to go on. And that's, total effect on our emotions.
Yes, and so we have physical symptoms that take place in the body. We have the emotions that just can go on a roller coaster ride. Some days, I know for myself, I feel really, really good. Other days I feel really, really down. And a lot of it is what I'm hearing and what I'm paying attention to around me and what people might be saying to me. But it also starts with the thoughts that are going on in your head. And when we talk about the fears that are taking place, Yael, tell me, what do you feel is the most the biggest fear? How would we say this? The end result, what are people the most afraid of that could possibly happen if their anxiety and their stress and the changes in the world just don't get resolved? What can possibly happen?
One word: death. People are
Yeah.
afraid to die before time. People are afraid that their parents will die. People are worried that something happens with their kids, obviously, and themselves as well. And that's what is happening now, because there's no vaccine and there is no medication yet. So people are afraid of death.
And we're talking about, the coronavirus that's going on, and it's a pandemic, and it's It's spread all around the world, and it's just something that we need to take in consideration. But that is the ultimate fear. What if we die? And, working on a spiritual level or more of a metaphysical level, sometimes I talk to people and I say there's only two things that we know for sure when we come into our body. Number one, we are born. And number two, we are going to transition out. We are going to die at some point. And everything else in between is an experience. It's a game of life. And it's how we play that game. I grew up playing sports. I also grew up in Alaska, and I was always out in nature. We were all very, very active. But it is kind of a game, and we can take this game of life and take it to the negative. Sometimes it can have a lot of positives, but that is the ultimate fear, is what if we die? And, we've had a show. Last week, we were talking about past life regression, and I also go on the show Mainstream Metaphysics a lot with my friend Nick Newmont, and we talk about all the different modalities with that. But let's kind of break it down a little bit more, that we know fear is completely different than a phobia. A phobia is an illogical response. What happens when we have fears is it triggers that stress and anxiety, and it affects our belief system and what we hold to be true. But there's so many different things that we can do about it. So with your background and your expertise as a hypnotherapist, what are some of the tips and some of the techniques that we can use to start overcoming the stress and have freedom of our fears?
So the first thing I always say, and it's something that I always do with my clients at my office and with my kids, I say, stop.
Mm-hmm.
Stop and breathe. You need to take some breathing. And then what I like to do is to teach is the 3 R's. It's the review, which is think. What is causing it? Did you hear something? Did you see something? What is causing it? What is bringing that thoughts? What is bringing that reaction, that response? And then release, which you can do with breathing or other techniques, which we will talk in a second, hopefully. And then
Mm-hmm.
replace it with something positive.
Okay, so repeat that again for me. We need to stop. So when we're
First of all,
dealing with
stop.
fear, just stop. Okay, stop and take a deep breath in. So let's everybody do this right now, this listening and watching. Let's just think of a fear that's going on in our lives and capture that for a moment. Just stop, take a deep breath in. Just one deep breath, Yael, or should we take a couple deep breaths?
3 is better. Always
Okay.
3 is better.
I call that the power of 3. So we can take in 3 deep breaths. And what's better, breathing through the nose or the mouth, or does it matter?
I always inhale through my nose and exhale through my mouth. And I do it, when I exhale, I do it loud. I do it strong.
Mm-hmm. So it's almost like is it more like a fast exhale or a slower exhale?
I would say you can do both. I do it like.
So we breathe in through our nose, just kind of exhaling through our mouth. So that's step number 1, is just kind of taking a deep breath in and reviewing what is happening, kind of thinking about the fear, and then what do we do?
And then we want to release it.
Okay, and are you going to teach us some techniques how to do that?
I'm going to show you a very quick technique with EFT. And I will explain a little bit what EFT is. So EFT is an emotional freedom technique where you use tapping with your own fingers on 10 energy points in the body. And the body's energy system, it's also the electrical system. So if there is kind of like a blockage somewhere, which is caused because of our stress, we want to release it. We want to let the flow go. And that's what EFT does. And if I will have some time and you'll tell me,
Yes, let's talk about it.
Okay, so I cannot show now unless you give me an hour now.
Let's take an hour. We're not going anywhere, Yael. We're all stuck in our houses. So we'll tell Sam at LA Talk Radio we're taking 2 hours to do the whole program. So
exactly.
Yeah. So explain it. Is it like meridians in the body?
Exactly. So what happens is that there are small meridians and it goes through the meridians in the body. And basically it's using the exact same electric system as the acupuncture and the acupressure. It's the exact same thing.
Okay,
but
so I know. Yeah, I've had acupuncture done. I love it. I was a massage therapist when I was younger, and so I'm very aware of acupressure. I know for me, one of the really, really strong points is the place right in between your thumb and your first finger. And sometimes I tell people when you're really feeling stress, if you just push that muscle, if you squeeze that muscle in between your thumb and your first finger, if it hurts, you have way too much stress going on in your life, and you may even be dehydrated because of it. But I will take a deep breath in and I will squeeze as hard as I can with my hand, and then, like you said, exhale, and then I release, and it goes all the way up from my hand all the way up to my head. I can feel it up in my neck. So I use one of those techniques. Is that kind of like EFT, or is EFT a little bit different?
EFT is specific, 10 specific points, but I will show you something now which is very easy, very powerful, effective, and everyone can do it. Anyone can learn how to do it, even if they don't come to me, if they will just do the exercise with me now.
Okay, so everybody, let's take a moment, and if you're watching, you'll be able to have the visual of it. And Yael, those people in the audience that are just listening, they may not be able to see us. Let's explain it so they have the auditory version as well, and they know exactly what we're doing.
Great. So what we will do now is we will find right here the collarbone. So you will see there's like a necklace of bones.
Not just your necklace, there's a necklace of bones. Okay.
And then
but I have a necklace on.
From that, you will walk down a little bit until you catch what we call the sore spot.
Ooh, I feel it.
Now, how
right
will
in
you
here.
feel it? When you will try to massage it, you will find like 2 little balls, tiny little balls, and you will know that you're in the right place if you massage it and touch them, and it almost hurts because it's sore. Do you feel it?
Yeah, so it's just right above your breast area and right below your collarbone. It's almost like it's an inch or two, mine's almost like 2 inches or so below that, and right in alignment with my shoulders. So yes, I feel that. So okay, so what do? We just
now when you feel it, also you will start feeling when you massage it like that.
Yeah,
you will
it hurts.
Almost feel your breathing also, like it makes you breathe as if you are touching the energy point. Now, what this point is also doing is like a reset to the body. You know how when you put batteries in a flashlight, but you put them the wrong way, the flashlight will not work? It's the exact same thing. What we are doing, it basically is like taking out the batteries, putting them the right way, and resetting the system.
Now, so we're not doing it like a massage. It's not really a massage. We're just.
It's like you go around like that.
Okay, got it.
Now, the more important thing, so in EFT, what we will do is not only that we will touch the points, and now we are not tapping, we are touching them and like massaging them, but verbally we're going to use, now I will do it just with one sentence, but it's the main sentence, and I will deal with the problem that we are trying to release now as the fear. And I'm going to say a sentence 3 times, and every time I say it, Michele, you will repeat after me.
Okay.
So it goes like that. Even though I have this fear, I truly love and accept myself as is. Repeat.
Even though I have this fear, I truly love and accept myself as is. Is that right?
Great. Yes. And I will go second time.
Do we
Even
need to
though,
explain what the fear is, or can we just say fear and keep it general?
so usually I will use the words that the client brings into the session. I try to find the keywords and we work on what he's asking to work. But here, because we're doing something very general, then I will just use the word fear. But it could be anything else. It could be fear of losing money. It could be fear of flights. It could be anything that the client will bring here, or anything that you will want to release. Fear of losing money, anything that you want to release, you will put into this sentence.
Okay.
And
So we keep working with the meridian points right here below our collarbone. And even though I have this fear, I
truly love
truly
and accept myself
truly
as
love and
is.
accept myself as is. Okay.
And then third time, even though I have this fear, I truly love and accept myself as is.
Even though I have this fear, I truly love and accept myself as is. Good.
Great. And now we release, we take a deep breath. Release the hands, arms, release everything.
Mm-hmm.
And this is usually just the start of the whole process that we do with the 10 points. But just by doing that, I think you can feel it already. It's like it's releasing something.
Yeah, it's almost like my shoulders started to drop down a little bit. So
exactly.
This is one of the techniques we could start there. I know there's a lot more to EFT tapping, and of course, people can contact you for sessions with that. So that's one of the main ones. What else could we do to help us with our fear and our anxiety?
I mean, there's another, you can also call it point in the EFT world. Something, I'm just teaching things that are very easy, that anyone can learn and anyone can do in their own house. So the next thing is, we're going to use this. This is called the karate chop. Why? Because this is how they chop the block when they do karate. So we have them in the 2 hands, and we're gonna tap them one into the other. Okay,
so the pinky, the side of the hand where the pinky is a small finger. So we're going to use that side of the hand, not the side with the thumb, but the 2 sides with the pinky. Okay, got it.
Exactly.
2 sides of the hand.
And we will tap them one into the other, which is very easy, as you can see, and you can do it wherever you are. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
But what you will do is, let's say you walk into whatever, a friend's house, work, and something is triggering, right? That fear, that anxiety, some stress, something is being triggered. You will go into a place where you have a little bit of privacy. It could be to the bathroom. It could be to another room, or to your office if you're in an office. And you will tap it like that, and you will say things out loud. It doesn't have to be loud, but it has to be out. So you will say, I'm so afraid. What is going to happen now? What if he tells me that? What if they fire me? What if I don't have money to pay? I'm just, throwing things here that may come out. It could be anything. It could be if you go to a date and you have that anxiety. Oh my God, what am I going to do? What if he asks me that? What if he says that? What if he doesn't like? You just do that. And even if I do it now, and those words has nothing to do with me, I'm already releasing and breathing. I'm already bringing oxygen and releasing the tension, which is basically releasing the energy system.
Yeah, so that I'm already feeling a little tingling in my body with that as well. So this is another technique that we can use, an EFT tapping technique to reduce our stress and our anxiety. Probably don't want to walk into your boss's office saying, I hope I don't get fired. I hope I don't get fired. I don't get fired. And on your first date, I hope he likes me. I hope he likes me. But this is something you can kind of do in private. And it doesn't need to be so obvious like we're making it. You can maybe just hold your hands down or just do a little, private tapping. But it's the movement. And I know with neurology and neurolinguistic programming, it's the language pattern as well as the movement with the body and the meridians that's connecting all of it together. And it's what we call breaking state. So that's amazing. I like that. I like that. So even though we're having fear, I'm having fear because of the health crisis that's taking place. I'm scared of the health crisis. I'm scared of all the changes that are taking place. So we say those things that we're afraid of, and then what do we do after that?
It's just releasing.
Just releasing it.
All it will do, and later on, what you want to do is you want to replace it with something positive.
Okay. So stop and breathe when we have our fears. Let's just recap what we call those 3 R's. I heard those 3 R's, stop and breathe. So review, what is the thought? What is the feeling that you have? Release it. Use a technique, an EFT tapping technique. I'll show you another technique in just a moment. And then be able to replace it with a positive. Even though I have this fear, I still completely love myself. Even though I'm dealing with this anxiety, I know that this too shall pass. So always replace it with a positive in your mind. And let me give the audience just a little tip. If you are journaling, and I know so many people are journaling right now, writing things down, writing in their diary. I used to have a diary when I was younger. Make sure that when you are journaling, you can put all of the information, all of the events, and all of the negatives that are taking place, because it's the negativity that's really, really causing some difficulty for us. You can write all of that down. And even though you write all of that down, please always remember, end it with a positive, because your subconscious mind focuses on the negatives, to tell you the truth. 10 times more than the positives. Our mind likes to latch onto those negatives. But if you journal before you go to sleep at night, then you're dropping those negatives into your mind. So end it with a positive. I'm releasing all fear. I love and accept myself every day in every way. It's getting better and better. Just find a sentence or two that you can use to just make that change before you go to sleep. So everybody remember, hypnosis is a heightened state of suggestibility. We are all in hypnosis right now. One of the techniques I like to teach my clients is something called power blasting, and doing a visual eye juggling with your eyes. So when you have a lot of pent up stress and anxiety, it's so very, very simple. Just take your arms and hands, put them down to your side, make fists with your hands, ball up your hands, make fists, and then breathe in and tighten your shoulders. Bring your shoulders all the way up to your ears and tighten every single muscle in your body. Breathe in and then exhale and just drop it down. And do that 3 times. Breathe in all the way up. Just close your eyes, tighten every single muscle in your body. Hold it, hold it, hold it. And then exhale and relax. I kind of shake it out when I do that. Breathe in one more time. All the way up, tighten everything. Hold it. Hold it. I'm watching you. Hold it. Exhale. Drop it down. Roll your head, neck, and shoulders around. And then how we can break state is that when we're in stress, fear, negative thoughts, we have a tendency to look down. In neurolinguistic programming and eye accessing cue, when we look down, we're accessing our negative feelings, our negative self-talk. Instead, keep your head still and look up towards the ceiling. Go into what we call a visual mode and smile. So if we try this after we release our stress and we do our EFT tapping, We can also think about the fear and the anxiety that we might have, get into that negative emotion that's down there, and then shift our state. Look up, keep your head still, look up to the ceiling and smile. And what you also can do is a little visual juggle. With your eyes, just look up to the left and the right of the ceiling. Just go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. I usually count to 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I just say to myself, I'm releasing, relaxing, letting this go. You cannot have anxiety and stress at the same time that you are calm and relaxed. It's not possible. It's not possible. So learning how to release this is going to be so beneficial in your life. Yael, can you tell me a little bit about neuro-linguistic programming before we wrap it up? I know we're coming to our close here in a moment. So what does that stand for again? And how is it beneficial for you and your clients in your private practice?
I mean, I love NLP. I find it very powerful. It's basically neuro is the brain and how we get information using the 5 senses. Linguistic is languages, and it's not just the verbal language, it's the face impression, eye movement, and body language. All goes together with the programming, which is basically our subconscious mind. How are we programming? And I love using NLP, first of all, to review and see what is going on in people's life and why does one see the picture in a different way than another. It's great for relationships, for people to understand when they have an argument. How come he doesn't understand me? How come he's seeing it this way and she's seeing it in another way? And that's how I explain, and this is how I teach people, that everybody has different programming and everybody will see things differently. It's subjective and not objective. And then what I love about NLP, which is a lot of other techniques for a release, there are all kind of anchoring that we use, which are great, and we can use them at this time. I mean, for me, it's probably out of every 3 clients, I'm assuming the 2 will come for NLP.
Yes, and so neurolinguistic programming, EFT, emotional freedom technique, these are the fancy terms for it. Hypnotherapy, it's all about shifting your states. It's about shifting your beliefs. Because
Michele, can I add something small?
Yes.
It's like taking it to a different angle, but a lot of people are asking, mostly women, but a lot of people are saying, I become an emotional eater. I am home. I'm stressed. I just see whatever my eyes see, I eat. And people say, how do I let it go? So EFT for sure, and NLP has a lot of great techniques. And one of the beautiful things about EFT, which is to bring it to more positive thought, is you can, for people who are craving sweets, people who are craving chocolate, we use EFT for that, believe it or not, and also NLP.
Wait a minute, I don't want to get rid of my sweets and my chocolate. I love it. I love
do.
Hey, let's talk a little bit before we come to a close here. What are some of the positive benefits of stress? Are there any positives as a result of, when we get a little nervous or anxious?
So with all that adrenaline coming in, you take it to a positive place and you become very active. You do things that usually you will not do. You go and help others. You reach out to others. You do more things that will make you active. You exercise more. You eat better. You take care of yourself, of your body. So those are more in the positive that will make you also feel much better instead of going the other way.
And I know for stress, with me, when I'm dealing with stress, sometimes it gives me a little bit more motivation. I have a tendency to wait to the last second to do things, but that's when I get my inspiration. So stress can create motivation and inspiration, not just fear. This has been such an amazing time being able to spend this with you and just really talking about what the fear is, that's taking place, especially in society, how it affects us on a physical, mental, emotional level, what's going on inside, some of the symptoms that we have, and then some really wonderful techniques. We have our EFT tapping, we have our power blast, we can breathe, we can do our visual juggle with our eyes. We can overcome our fears. Yael, can you tell our audience how they can get a hold of you? What's the best way to reach you if they'd like to book a session or contact you?
Okay, so first of all, I have a website which is Yael Kagan, YaelKagan.com. I also have a Facebook page which is very active. I also post videos and live shows that I do on the page. It's Yael Kagan, CHT. CHT is Certified Hypnotherapist.
Yes.
And I can also, I'm happy to give my phone number. People can text me. People can schedule a phone call, a free session for consultation. I'm happy to do that. Text me, call me. And my phone number, should I say it now? Or
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, it is area code 201 873 6666. Very easy.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure having you on the show. I hope to have you on the show again in the future. We have so much to talk about. And of course, I hope everybody joins us on our holistic tour to the Holy Land coming up probably towards the end of the year. My name is Michele Guzy. I'm known as the Mind Coach, and you have been hypnotically connected. Remember, all answers lie deep within your mind. You just have to be willing to look inside. You can reach me on my website, themindcoach.com, or go to my Facebook page, Michele with one L, Guzy, and I will see you soon. Thank you to LA Talk Radio, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Have a great day. Bye-bye.